How's it going, everyone? Bored on a Wednesday night off, so I figured I would put together a video going over my USPSA gear setup going into 2021. I'm looking forward to getting back out there and competing again. It's been a while with the winter. There's not much going on in Pennsylvania, and the Shadowhawk events, which are the closest ones to me, just wasn't lining up my schedule. So hopefully I'm going to be taking a vacation week here, and it happens to line up with a match that's happening down south that I might just make a pilgrimage to. But anyways, this is my current gear setup, including my gun. This is all Carry Optics gear. That's all I really shoot. I dabbled in PCC, wasn't crazy about it because my right eye sucks, and I hate magazine capacity limits, so I don't shoot production. If they were to up that magazine capacity limit, I might play with production a little bit, but really, I'm a Carry Optics shooter. I like dots, so that's what I shoot. With the current situation, I know we all hate panic buyers because realistically, we are the ones driving the prices up by panic buying. But in the same breath, if I had a time machine, the first thing I would do would be to head back to 1985 and buy a whole bunch of AR-15 lowers, have them converted to M16 lowers on a Form 1, and transport back to modern times and sell those all as $30,000 machine guns. So I decided that while it was easy enough to do, I would buy myself another Glock frame. Bought it on Gunbroker. Wasn't too terribly driven up in price from what they usually are. It was 120 bucks on Gunbroker for a complete, well, stripped Glock 17 frame, which obviously accepts Glock 34 slides. And then basically I filled it out. The barrel, slide, and dot are completely new. Let's go top to bottom. So the dot is one of the reasons that I was really motivated to make this video. It is one of Primary Arms and Holosun's new ACSS 507Cs, and it's amazing. I'm going to lay in some video here, but basically, when you're looking down the dot and you have the dot at arm's length, you can see just the chevron, but out and around the window, there's a giant circle that you don't see when you're aiming, but if you pull up and your aim isn't exactly perfect, you're going to see a bar of the circle, and it's going to bring you almost subconsciously, like you don't even have to think of it. But if, like, I'm going to try and draw high here. If I draw high, I can see the bottom of the circle, and I can immediately make the transition and move on to target. So that was what really got me building here. By the way, if you're thinking of ordering this and you're dismayed by their wait times, I can tell you that they're very much overestimating the wait times because they don't want to piss somebody off and come up short. Whenever I bought this, it said that they weren't going to ship until mid-February. It's currently January, and I've already had it for 2 weeks. Anyways, so that's the Optic. The slide is from Steel City Arsenal. I have to point out for any of my fellow Pittsburghers that it's the wrong Steel City. Apparently, Alabama has a Steel City too. But it is a very nice slide. It was actually the last part that I got for this build. Very nice, lightweight, has the good slide cuts, good grip up front just from the slide cut itself, but they also have some grips along the bottom here. So if you grab it, or even if you're just doing over the thumb, or thumb over the slide, you have plenty to grab onto to manipulate the slide, so you don't have to just wrench on your dot. And the barrel, I figured my other barrel has about probably a good 35,000 rounds through it at this point, so I figured I might as well grab a new barrel while it's still so easy to order parts online. So went with a Zev barrel, and just for Gucci reasons, I went with the bronze finish, and it's nice. I'll say, oddly enough, I played around with the chrono. It chronos my 147s slightly slower than my factory barrel, and chronos my 125s slightly faster than my factory barrel. So I'm going to stick to my factory barrel for if I'm running 147s, and I'm going to stick with this barrel for if I'm running 125s. So that's the upper, really. It also has the, I think it's double diamond extended tungsten guide rod. Probably about 99% placebo in my mind, but I do like having the weight out front. In addition to that, let's go down to the lower. It has a fugly ass stipple done by me. Doesn't look pretty, but it's the grippiest pattern that I've been able to figure out. My old Glock lower had been done by Overwatch Precision, and I love Overwatch Precision's triggers. We're going to be talking about them in a second here. But their stipple, I mean, it's a plastic gun. Over time, your stipple's going to wear down. I didn't feel like sending it out to be done again, so I just grabbed a $14 Walmart wood burner and went to town. Originally started off with just the pointy, fine tip stipple that a lot of people do, and it started off okay, but A, I'm impatient, and B, didn't really seem all that grippy. So I went to change out my tip, and for some reason I wasn't able to thread in a new tip. It wasn't threaded because it wasn't cross-threaded or stripped or anything, because I'm able to put tips back on now, but I was basically stuck there with a half stippled gun, and so I switched to just the actual stipple, or the actual housing of the wood burner, and used that, the side of that, to push up these big ridges on the frame. And like I said, it's not pretty, but it grips amazingly. You almost don't need the grip lotion whenever you're running this. I mentioned Overwatch Precision. There is the trigger that I run. I love both their tack. This is the tack. It's the one that I prefer out of the two. But their DAT or DAT or whatever you call it, I guess, is also a very good trigger. Very good. They put a good polish on their bars. Very smooth. From the factory, it takes up a lot of over travel out of the system. But I also added a I was playing around with a ghost connector for a while. Wasn't really able to get it to work super great, and I think honestly, I think it might be the trigger housing. I have other trigger housings on the way so that I can play with it some more, but I was getting the occasional not intentional bump fire with the edge connector, so I'm running a old Zev connector with circle holes drilled in it, and it basically, between that and the light and springs, all the springs are as light as I can run them. There's basically no wall in the trigger, so I can demonstrate that. What that means is, when I pull the trigger, a lot of people will be looking for a wall somewhere back here. That doesn't happen on my trigger. What happens on my trigger is it's just a clean, what we call a rolling break, which means I pull straight through. There's no wall of resistance, and what that translates to is, whenever I'm trying to really shoot fast doubles on close targets where speed is important, I can just pull straight through it. I don't have to worry about that wall throwing my aim off at the last second. I will say it recently just came out, the Chimney Trigger for Glocks. It's interesting. I played with it for a little bit. I'm going to probably play with it some more. I think I'm going to still stick with Overwatch Precision just because I've been running them for a long time. It's what I'm used to. But the Chimney, it does have a wall, but it's a very weak wall. Like you can pretty much pull straight through the wall. It actually kind of feels like the Glock equivalent to like a good Geisley AR trigger. But like I said, I've been using this for a long time. I like the rolling break. I think I'm going to stick with this, but I might throw the Chimney in my backup original Glock lower that will now be my backup gun. Moving on beyond that, I'm running a Zev giant magazine release. I think I have a stubby thumb or something, so I'm not able to always get the good press without changing my grip on, especially the factory magazine release. But even this, I have to kind of twist my hand around a little bit. But with this, it's much easier to hit once I do that, and then I'm able to get back onto my grip very quickly. Last part about the gun worth mentioning is the Cagworks slide release, or slide lock, or whatever you call it. Glock fanboys like to say, it's not a slide release. It's a slide release. If you're running a really high grip with the factory Glock slide release, or whatever you want to call it, you can often inadvertently bump it up during recoil, and that will cause you to unintentionally lock the slide back. With this, though, that never happens, as long as you install it correctly, because it does seem a little bit finicky. With you have to make sure that it's positioned just so. But as long as you do make sure that it's positioned correctly, and you have obviously the spring has to be under, but I find the spring also, you have to kind of push it over to the side. As long as you do that, there will be no unintentional locking back of the slide. But in that same breath, you can very easily drop the slide. If God forbid you run your 23 round Carry Optics mag dry and you throw in a reload, you can pop that new mag in and hit that slide. You can hit that slide release without even breaking your grip. Last but certainly not least, I, along with the rest of the internet, have been caught up in the Mandalorian fandom, so I have the Mythosaur skull backplate on there from Classy Raptor Tactical. If you're looking for a cool end plate, they have a bunch. They have this. They also have Baby Yoda,
Kroger,
which I have now on my backup. It's kind of funny. The Baby Yoda backplate is green, and that one runs the green dot. This one runs the red dot and has a whole bunch of red shit all over it. So that's pretty much all that I've done to the handgun in and of itself. It's worth mentioning, my magazines that I run are, I have a bunch that I'll use from time to time, but my favorite that I'm going to pretty much stick with from henceforth is the Taran Tactical base pads on the factory Glock mags. Brings it to 23 rounds, easily reloadable. I don't have to worry about, will this accidentally jam me up because it's too tight. I also have Taylor Freelance brass ones, and those ones are super heavy, and I like that, but I can only ever get 22 plus 1 in it. If I try to do 23, there's about a 70% chance that it's not gonna cycle on that first round. I'm just gonna get a jam. So I don't use those. So if I have a stage where there's like some extremely long range poppers that I'm going to be dealing with right off the bat, sometimes I'll start off with those just because, hey, it's a heavier gun and that should be easier to be more accurate with. That's bullshit, I think, but that's the way my mind works, right? So those are my mags. Going from there, my holster, I got to tell you about this. My holster is a GX Products. Can't remember the name of the holster specifically, but it's their one. It's their flagship model that has the lever, and it's great because you can flip the lever up for whenever, like if you're running a timer, or if you're trying to get your stage walks in and you have your gun on, you don't want to, obviously you don't want to be running around with your gun super loose and flopping out of your holster. So you can flip that lever up to add extra retention. I can hold this thing upside down and I'm certain it will not drop down. I can hold it upside down and shake it even and it won't pop down. That being said, if I have a stage where I'm going to be running before I pull the gun out, like if there's some local stage or local match that has some silly gimmick course where you have to carry something or something like that, I can do that. I can run full speed with the gun in the holster on the full retention mode, but you can adjust it so that you can still get good fast draws with it in its high retention mode. But then when you flip it down into the basically no retention mode, there's almost no resistance whatsoever. So I can basically just ride my middle finger up the holster and scoop the gun out, and it comes out super fast. My magazine pouches are the Double Alpha XIP. They're great. you can adjust not only, obviously, the retention of the magazines, and they have inserts for different kinds of magazines, but they also allow you to adjust how far into the pouch the mag goes. So I have it on the minimal setting, so that only enough to retain the mag basically goes into the pouch, just because that is that extra split second that it takes off of the amount of time that I have to wait before it's out of the pouch. And on the ball joint that you mount it to the holster with, you can really choose just about any angle you want. I have, especially this front one, is sort of like a hybrid between a bullets out and bullets forward, where it's at like about a 60-degree angle. Mostly out, but a little bit forward also, which it's just, I can come straight down and hit that magazine right like that. Things that probably don't matter, but in my mind, they allow me to be really, really consistent with my magazine inserts. Last but not least, I'm running a Weber Tactical Ratchet belt. I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically it's a Kydex belt wrapped in rubber, and it uses a ratchet to tighten down, in addition to some Velcro on the inside, rather than just a whole bunch of Velcro like a lot of most USPSA belts do that. But for fat asses like myself, there's the word, this really is a lot easier to cinch down and get a good secure fit, where I'm not having to worry about it coming loose or something like that, God forbid. So that is pretty much about it. That's my setup for USPSA, and like I said, I'm looking forward to getting back out there and competing again. It's been too long. If you have any comments, questions, yada yada yada, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. And thanks for watching. See ya.